everyone. Hey everyone, happy Friday. It's Ellen from Wild Birds Unlimited in Joliet, and on Fridays we go live to tell you what's new, what's happening in the store, and what's happening out in nature. So let us know, what have you been seeing at your feeders? We're so excited. This is such a great time of year because we see so many birds. The warbler action is happening, and if you aren't paying attention, you're going to miss not only all these cool birds that are visiting us, but you might miss some really cool behaviors that we only see during nesting season. So keep your eyes and your ears open and have those feeders full with nice, high quality food that are going to help birds fulfill their nutritional needs this time of year, but also provide water. It's really, really important to provide water all year round, but in the spring, it's no less different. You need water not only to stay hydrated, but they need water to stay in top flight condition, maintaining feathers. And that's what bird baths are all about. So let's get to it. We have a couple great things. I'm going to show you some new items at the end of the live today because we're going to go on a little field trip because there are some items I cannot bring to the counter. So we're going to do that last. But to start it off, I want to talk about a couple events that we have going on. And tomorrow is one of them. We still have a couple spaces left for our Create Your Own Native Plant Container Garden. So these pots are, one, really cool because they're super sustainable. And it gives you a couple options with using them. So they are a fiber pot, meaning that they are biodegradable. So whether you want to use it for one season, or maybe you want to put it into a really fancy urn or decorative pot that you have at home, or you could even plant it right into the ground. It will biodegrade on its own, and then the plants will be right in your garden, ready to go. And this is, again, perfect for, if you have a small space, like you're living in an apartment or a condo and you don't have a super big yard. Native plants are the way to go because we know they're going to support native birds and butterflies and wildlife much better than plants that are non-native. So that is the big thing. And on top of it, they're beautiful. So you're going to have a whole bunch of plants that are going to bring you joy for the whole season. And the best part is they come back next year. So you get to enjoy them for many more years to come. So that's happening tomorrow at 6 p.m. You got to call the store to reserve your spot. It's $45 a person, and it includes the pot, soil, and 5 plants that you get to choose. So really cool activity. Again, we have limited spots available, so just be sure you call to reserve your spot. It's, again, a great activity to do for mom, or better yet, with mom. So you can bring mom with and do the activity together, and you both go home with a nice pot that's filled with native plants that are going to attract so many birds and butterflies, and you get to enjoy that. So that's what's happening tomorrow. But also happening coming up the 17th from 10 to 3, we have a pop-up shop with art by Anara. And if you go on our events page, there's a whole bunch of pictures of some of her sample art, but she'll have a bunch of different sizes and even stickers. So every price point you could think of, she's got something for you. And I really love that her art not only has that wonderful feminine touch to it, but it's also appreciative of nature. So gotta check it out. She uses such cool materials to do the art, and it's gonna be really good. So can't wait for her to come. And on Wednesday the 21st, so it's a Wednesday evening, we have a special in-store presentation from Kelsey Shaw on creating a bird paradise. All right, so again, you got to call the store to reserve your seat. It's free to come, but you just got to let us know that you're going to be here so that we can make sure we have enough seating for everyone. And then the following Saturday, which would be the 24th, we'll have Possibility Place Nursery and Kelsey back out here to do a in-person native plant sale. Now, I will have the species list for that plant sale probably coming up on Monday, just because of the Mother's Day holiday. I'm probably not going to be too busy on the working, so I'll have that out for Monday, okay? But that native plant sale is from 9 to 2:30, and at 11 o'clock there is going to be a planting demonstration. So if you want to learn how to really plant them the right way and talk to some native plant experts, they're your people, and they're going to be here from 9 to 2:30, so you can ask all the questions and get all the answers to have a successful planting season. All right. Well, so now that we've gotten that taken care of, I want to talk real quick about hummingbirds. That's pretty much what our presentation tonight is all about. We're talking about hummingbirds because Will County has hummingbirds. And if you haven't had a chance to get your hummingbird feeder out and filled up with nectar, this is your opportunity to do so. Okay, so get those hummingbird feeders out, put them outside, and filled with nectar, fresh nectar, and you're going to start getting those hummingbirds right to your backyard. I think this time of year is so exciting because not only do we get so many different birds that are flying through our area, whether they're just passing through or they're going to stay this summer, but I just love hummingbirds because they're going to stay and they'll nest here. They can nest in your backyard. They are one of the big, they're a little bird, but with a big attitude, and they visit so frequently. So it's really easy to attract them, whether you're using natural plants in your backyard to attract them or using supplemental feeders to attract them. It's a really great time, and it's super, super fun. All right, so tonight I want to show you exactly how easy it is to make nectar. All right, and we have some have a couple in-store nectars that are either pre-made or they're ready to rock and just add water. And I'm going to talk about those and what makes them so special, something different, and why it's okay to use them. But also we're going to talk about accessories for success when it comes to hummingbirds. So let's get to it. Let's start by making our nectar. And tonight I like to use all the time, I use this nectar bottle at home. I use it when I go to Wisconsin and I go camping. This is my nectar bottle, and we have them here at the store, so you can get one too. But I love that it has the instructions on how to make your nectar, right? So, and it has everything that you need from making the nectar to storing it. All the information is right on the bottle. So if you ever forget how do I make nectar, or what are the rules for storing it, it's here. Okay? So I, ahead of time, filled this up with nice warm water right from my tap. So I didn't boil it because I don't have a stove or anything to boil water here at the store. But all you gotta do, you don't really need to boil it unless you have some impurities in your water already from your tap. So whether that's chlorine or different minerals that you know are gonna be harmful to you or wildlife, that is when you want to boil it. Otherwise, boiling is totally unnecessary. In fact, once upon a time, people used to boil it because they were trying to store it for an excessive long period of time. Well, now we say, make a smaller amount of nectar and you can store it for up to 2 weeks in the refrigerator, and that's okay. All right, but from here, I'm just gonna use my tap water. I fill it up. Since I'm making the true 4-to-1 ratio, meaning 4 cups of water to 1 part sugar, I filled it to my 32-ounce line. That is 4 cups of water. Okay, so I just filled it up with very warm tap water and put my lid back on. This here is natural plain table sugar. All right, that's what is in this bag. But it's pre-measured to be exactly 1 cup of sugar. So that's what I kind of like about these little bags, because whether you are just visiting or maybe you're going camping or you're going to like an Airbnb and doing kind of like an extended trip, bring your hummingbird feeder. Why not? And you have all the ingredients. You don't need to buy a big bag of sugar that you probably won't use the rest of the trip. You can just grab this and it's ready to rock. So it does have a zip seal, but obviously I'm making the whole bag today. And so we're going to just do that, all right? So let's open that up. Opening up my sugar. And again, see, it's just regular white table sugar. Hopefully I can show, yep, see, there you go. It's just regular table sugar. And we're going to pour it into our nectar bottle. And as you see, there is a little bit room, so it's not going to overflow my container. It's going to be the perfect amount to make 4 cups of nectar right here. All right, I'm going to do this. Hopefully I don't spill any. Maybe I'll move my cart over so I have something in case I do spill a little bit, but I hopefully won't. By the way, I wanted to say, any mothers out there, happy Mother's Day early. But in case I don't see you either tomorrow or Sunday, I want to wish you all a very wonderful Mother's Day. I hope everyone appreciates everything that you do. You are powerhouses. All right? So now that I put my sugar in this water, it's already pretty much dissolved, but you can see a little bit of sugar at the very bottom. So I'm just going to tighten this lid, and then comes the next part, which is probably my kids' favorite part, and it's the shaking part. So my kids always do something really extravagant, but I just like to kind of tip it over and give it a good shaking until it's completely dissolved. And now, because my water was nice and warm, you can see that it is clear. I mean, it really dissolved it very quickly. So now, if I'm going to fill this right away, you're going to want to make sure that this water kind of cools down if it is really hot. Now, the back in my bathroom, it takes a while for that water to get really, really hot. And in fact, it will never get to the point where it's going to be like boiling my hand. So I could potentially just pour it into my hummingbird feeder and put it out there ready to rock. But for this scenario, and because our hummingbird feeder is already full outside, I'm going to let it cool for just a little bit longer until the end of the live, and then stick it in my fridge because it's ready to rock for tomorrow or whenever we need to refill our nectar feeder. And that goes for not only hummingbirds, but also oriole feeders. They also will drink nectar too. So if you have an oriole feeder that can also hold nectar, this is a great option, and you can fill both of them at the same time, and you probably will still have extra left over to use for next time. So it's a really easy, super simple way to feed hummingbirds is just by making it right at home. Couple tips to think about when you're making your nectar is that you don't want any red dye. Okay, we know hummingbirds are totally attracted to that red color, but it is totally unnecessary to add red dye to the nectar. In fact, if you could use a red feeder or use red accessories like a weather guard like this, that is going to be so much more appealing and more attractive and healthier for your birds than adding dye that's unnecessary to the feeders. In fact, scientists have told us that red dye actually is harmful to the birds. So do your birds some justice and don't use any red dye. A couple other things you don't want to add to it is honey or artificial sweetener or organic sugar or something that, add some different kind of additives like juice and stuff. I've heard some people trying out. It's natural, all-purpose table sugar is just good enough. In fact, it is as close. This nectar recipe that we made is literally almost identical to what you will find from natural flower nectar. So that's all you need is table sugar and water, and believe it or not, you've got some nectar. All right? So let's talk real quick about some other options, okay? And I know some people aren't big on making their own sugar, water, their nectar. They like to just have it ready to go, or there are some other options that do have some good, healthy additives that I'll talk about real quick here, okay? So the first one I want to talk about is this guy. This clear hummingbird mix is essentially a big version of this. Okay, it's just 100% natural sugar. There's no additives, there's no sweeteners, there's no dye. It's all already here. And there's a handy measuring cup included in here. So kind of cool. This is just a cool way to say distinguish this as hummingbird sugar versus perhaps using your baking sugar. Right? That's essentially what this is. If you need something that distinguishes this from your baking ingredients, this is the way to go. This is super loved and it's pretty inexpensive, and it can make up to 3.75 quarts of nectar. So that's a good option. Very popular here too. Another super popular option is this. This is hummingbird nectar with nectar defender already in it. So it's sugar, but they've added that micronutrient nectar defender already in here. What is nectar defender? Like I said, it's a micronutrient. It's something that's already naturally in hummingbirds' diet, but essentially they've honed and figured out exactly this micronutrient extends the life of nectar. So when we start getting into those very hot days, and potentially we're coming up on a couple very hot days soon, this is really great, because when we get into those hot days of summer, our nectar can spoil much quicker than it will on a nice spring day. Okay, so the nectar defender will make it last up to 2 weeks, even in that hot days. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't have to go looking at your nectar. I like to look for signs of mold, meaning cloudiness, okay, cloudiness or little specks of darkness in it, floaties, are often all signs that your nectar has some kind of bacteria or mold going on in it. And that is unsafe for our birds. So anytime that you see anything floating, any spots in there, any milky cloudiness in your nectar, it's time to dump it out, clean out, whether it's your nectar bottle or your hummingbird feeder. You want to clean it out very, very well and make fresh nectar and refill. Okay, when you're cleaning your nectar feeders, we want to take a special care around the ports. So that's whether the inside feed parts, like these little holes that you see here, these are the ports. And you want to make sure that you're cleaning these ports extra good. Okay, so I like to use a brush kind of like this, right? It kind of looks like a mascara brush, right? But what it does is it does a great job at getting into all these little ports and being able to twist and get in all those nooks and crannies that may be a little harder to get with just a sponge. All right, fun fact is that this hummingbird feeder, our high-perch hummingbird feeders, are top rack dishwasher safe. So if you would rather just stick it in the dishwasher and run the dishwasher, that is an option too. But it's still worth the while to check out, even after you run the dishwasher, to make sure there is no mold or anything that potentially could start more bacteria growing, that it particularly around the ports or any other part of your nectar feeder. Okay, really, really important. Since hummingbirds really rely on their mouths, like most birds do, to receive their food, it is really important that we keep them healthy so that they can survive and thrive for more years to come. In fact, the oldest hummingbird, I think, was recorded, it was like the oldest ruby-throat hummingbird was like 11 years old. So yes, the birds that are coming back to you may just be that. The birds that are coming back year after year, enjoying your backyard, enjoying your feeders and your flowers, and are happy and healthy because of you. And they are returning because they enjoy your backyard. So, other ones that I really want to talk about, other nectar, is this stuff. This is called Sweet Seed Hummingbird Nectar. All right, this stuff right here. And what I love about this stuff is it comes in 2 varieties. They're both clear. One is just a green bottle, is a concentrate. The clear bottle is ready to use. So if you crack this open and pour it in, it's ready to rock. This one, you add some water to it, and that's how you make it. Okay. But what makes this nectar so great is that it's all natural, dye-free, but it's wildflower infused, and it's fortified with calcium and electrolytes, which birds, especially during migration or just right after migration, really could use. We know also calcium helps mama birds develop healthy, strong eggs with healthy babies that have strong bones. So anytime that you can add extra calcium into your wild bird's diet, it is awesome, and the birds sure appreciate it. So fun fact is all of our bark butter products include calcium in it. And fun fact is I want to say all of our plus blends, so meaning like No Mess Plus, Choice Plus, all of those ones all have added calcium in it because they likely have bark butter bits in it. So you have extra calcium in that seed blend. So really great things to offer to birds this time of year because we're in nesting season. And birds are creating eggs and creating new young that need strong bones to become big, strong adult birds. So you can help them by adding a little extra calcium in their diet, whether it be the form of nectar or seed or bark butter, depending on the type of birds they are. All right, that's the deal with those nectars. Now, fun fact about Nectar Defender is, yes, we have it in this red bag, and I love this nectar because it's easy. It actually takes one extra step out of it. But if you like to make your nectar at home but want to add Nectar Defender to it, we do have bottles of just Nectar Defender. And essentially, you just kind of add a capful, or depending on how much you're making, you measure it out, add it to your nectar, and it's ready to rock. Extend that nectar's life for up to 2 weeks. So super awesome and a great way to keep your nectar safe and healthy for the birds to continue to use. All right, let's talk about some accessories for success, because I did show you a couple, right? I showed you my favorite hummingbird port brush, right? Great, and almost a necessity if you have hummingbird feeders with small little ports. It can be very tricky to stuff a really thick brush or a sponge and get in there and clean really good. So I definitely highly recommend a port brush for success, okay? Again, adding any kind of red color, but a weather guard does a couple different things. Not only is it making more red noise, and you know what I mean by red noise, more red color, saying this is here, guys, the dinner plate is here. Come and get it, right? That's essentially what you're doing when you add a lot of red color to your backyard, is you're telling those birds the restaurant is open, ready for business, and they're gonna come on in. All right. The other thing a weather guard like this does is it can protect the nectar or jelly, depending on what feeder you're using, from getting diluted. Nice thing about these high perch hummingbird feeders is, as you see, these flower ports are actually raised. So if you just had this out in the open, you would have to have literally a direct hit into that port for it to dilute the nectar. Alternatively, if it's a light rain, most of the time that water is diverting around these flowered impressions, and it's not going to dilute the nectar. Also, there are these holes in the very middle here, and in that middle is actually a built-in ant moat. And we'll talk about ant moats right now, okay? An ant moat is designed to keep just that, ants away. Ants can't cross water. So if you fill this part up, the water will keep the ants from crossing it. Now, those little holes that I was talking about in that ant moat is for any overflow water. So if those holes weren't in there and you had this filled up with water and it happened to rain that day, it potentially could overflow and start kind of either causing a waterfall effect and possibly diluting your nectar. But since there are those holes, anything that overflows over these holes is going to actually drain out from the bottom. So it's kind of a cool way to use it. Now, I have found that sometimes, especially in our hot summer days, that this amount of water is not quite enough to stay there all day. Sometimes it evaporates. That's where an extra nectar guard, like an ant moat like this, or even we have a even bigger, like double the size of this, that you can hang above. So it does have this extra S hook that you would place down here to rain chain it and hang it right here. So it goes above your hummingbird feeder because you're likely going to hang this right like this onto maybe a shepherd's hook or maybe your pole system. And then once the ants climb up that pole system, they are never going to be able to cross to the center because they can't get at the water. Now, cool thing about these ant moats is that they make excellent small bird baths or drinking wells, if you will. I find, and even Diane, the team member Diane here, she has many goldfinches and chickadees and nuthatches that will visit these little ports of water up here and get a little drink, a little sip to drink. Sometimes these little birds get a little intimidated, especially when there are some big birds using a big bird bath. And sometimes a little water source like this is all they need to feel a little bit more comfortable and get a little sip to drink. So definitely recommend an ant moat, all right? If you don't want to use an ant moat, or perhaps the situation, perhaps like a window feeder that's attached to the window, is not gonna work with an ant moat. So what are the options? Well, we have this stuff. It's called Ant Fortress, and I've used this for 2 years now. It's a really great option if the ant moat isn't going to work for the situation. But essentially, kind of like how the picture shows, right here, they've added it right here, but it's really this very little spot right here. That's where they've added it, but they've blown it up for you in this picture here. But it's kind of like a gel, but it's not sticky. It's not oily like Vaseline. It's just a clear gel. And essentially it just blocks the pheromones and prevents the ants from traveling over that spot. So like this kind of shows, I use it on, maybe it's just like around here. And then the ants maybe can come all the way to here, but as soon as they get to that line where I put the nectar fortress, they go right back up. It's absolutely incredible. Again, it's easy to use. This amount of fortress is going to protect 10 feeders. It can last the whole season. I think last year, I want to say I applied it maybe twice. We didn't have a ton of like super heavy rain where I had my nectar feeder, so I didn't have to apply it more than that. But the year previous to it, I maybe applied it 4 times because we had some really torrential downpours, and where I had it, it was a lot more exposed, and the pole that I was using, it was just getting washed away. But this works really, really well. Super, super good. And it's safe, again, for pets, it's safe for birds, and it's safe for humans. So, super good option. All right? Try it out. You're going to love it, okay? So, we talked about the dome and how it adds more color. We had talked about ant protection. We've talked about cleaning options. But the one I hear the most often about hummingbird feeders is, how do I keep bees and wasps away from my nectar? Well, that's when these guys come into play. These are nectar guard tips. So how do they work? Well, I'm going to show you this back picture because I think the back picture shows it really good right here. So essentially, you're using these little cups, these silicone little kind of like rubber cups, and you're putting them on the underneath side of your nectar port. So for example, on this high perch hummingbird feeder, you can slip these cups right on these holes. That's why they have these like these little prongs, if you can see up here, right? And these slide right over it. Now, I don't know if you can tell in here, but they do have kind of an X in the cups. And how that works is that hummingbird's bill and their tongue are able to pierce through this, absolutely super easy, and it keeps any ants or not ants, flying creatures out of it, like your bees and wasps that sometimes want a tasty little sweet treat too. And this will prevent them from gaining access to your nectar. All right, really, really good tip. Fun fact about our nectar feeders in our Wild Birds Unlimited Oriole feeder, where you can put jelly and orange and you can fill the bottom with nectar, is those Oriole feeders come with their own nectar guards to keep the bees out. And it's included already in the feeder. These guys are separate, sold separately, okay? And you can purchase them in store or online. Same with any of our feeders and most of our nectar products. All right, let's get to it. We have a couple new items. In case anyone else has questions on hummingbirds, you're more than welcome to put them in the comments. Hi, Barb, and hi, Shelly. Good to see you. Happy Mother's Day, if you didn't hear that already. We're going to go and I'm going to show you a couple new items that have come in. Some of them are feeders. Some of them are just garden decor and just plain fun. Okay, so let's start with the important one, which is our new feeder. So, you may know we have quite the selection of squirrel-proof feeders, but we do have a new squirrel-proof feeder, and this is the Squirrel Buster. It is the standard one. It holds 1.3 pounds of seed. So it's one of our smaller, probably the smallest squirrel-proof feeders that we have in store. Okay, now fun fact is that this Squirrel Buster is made by the same makers of our Eliminator and our Fundamentals. So very tried and true company that really makes wonderful products. Cool thing about this is that, again, it's weight sensitive, so when that squirrel comes on it, it will close and shut the port and they won't be able to access the seed. Okay, you can adjust the tension on this like our Eliminator. So if we take off this handle and slide off the shroud, that's where you see here. And in here, just like our Eliminator, you have a plus and a minus, right? You're going to turn that depending on if you want to have less birds on it, right? Exclude more birds, or if you want to allow more larger birds to have access to it. Cool thing I love about this feeder is the perches. Remember we talked about wide perches for such as some of our favorite birds like our cardinals, our grosbeaks love a wide perch, forward facing eating, and that's exactly what this feeder has. So I know it's going to be a top seller and super popular, and I like that it's kind of a nice segue into squirrel-proof feeding. I know some of you are also dealing with a couple financial issues happening, whether it's with the economy or maybe you lost a job or you just don't have the income that you had. And this is a great option because not only is it a great price point, but you're going to save a lot of money when you don't have to feed the squirrels when you're trying to feed the birds. So having an investment feeder like this is going to be great because you're not going to have to worry about the squirrel damaging the feeder or eating all the seed. So you're saving just with one really cool feeder. All right, that's the new feeder. Super excited! Yay to a small little mini squirrel-proof feeder. I know some of you have been asking for that, so it is here. Now on to some of the fun things. We did get a couple new hangy guys, and I loved this one. I want to bring it in, and honestly, the light here doesn't do it justice. It was hanging in the window, and these blue colors were just absolutely stunning. This one does come with a suction cup already attached to the hanger, so it's something you can hang right to your window, and it brings a little whimsy, and it's such a good add-on gift for Mother's Day that, telling you, she's a bird lover, just add it to it. It's going to make such a good add-on gift, right? Other things that we got in that are super cool. We need a little extra room here. is we've got in new lanterns. Now, we've had these lanterns before, but I wanted to kind of show you them because they're a little bit different. Some of these, the patterns are a little bit different. This one is super cool because it's actually stars with a bald eagle, and maybe I can get it to go. Oh, can you see that action? When you put this in a dark place, or you have it outside, maybe on a table, this illuminates and it shows this laser cut image on the ground below you or on a table. So it's really a cool way to have a shadow effect, but also have a little light. So we have them in little, and I do have them in a large version for both styles. Okay, so there was the bald eagle with the stars, and then this one I have is kind of like circles in a spiral. Okay, check it out, and it does have that blue inside, so it's going to illuminate kind of blue. How cool. The pattern on this is going to be so cool. If you get one, you got to invite me over because it'll be so cool to see. Again, it's solar, so they're perfect. You can hang them on little mini shepherd's hooks in your yard, or perfect to just sit on the table. Again, this one also comes in a large and a small as well. So those are super cool and fun. The small one, the on and off switch is actually underneath it. So I'm just going to switch it off because obviously after the live, I'm going at home and we'll want that off. We don't want to illuminate inside the store when we're not here, right? Now I'm going to take you on a walk because we have some couple new spinners here, and I wanted to show you those too. So here is one. How cool is this? I love this style, and yes, it is red and orange, and it's so bright, and I love how it looks. I'm going to show you the other one because the other one is super cool too. I think it's called Cirque du Soleil. I'm calling it Cirque du Soleil, but I'm sure it's not called that. But look at this guy. How cool. Double-sided. And not only does it spin like this, but it also swings around. So if you have a really windy yard, this one's going to be right up your alley. And how cool is it? I love that it has the color not only on the front, but on the back side. And yes, both sides have that cool rainbow color to them. Love, love, love it. This is the perfect time to put out spinners because not only are we starting to get that summer wind, spring summer wind, but it just makes an extra whimsy and a really cool atmosphere in your backyard. Maybe you'll dress up a corner that's kind of a little boring in your yard. A spinner like that is sure to not only be a showstopper, but it's also to bring that color and vibrancy and a little bit of fun to your backyard. All right, guys, you have a wonderful weekend. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow here at the store, or perhaps we'll see you on Mother's Day or during the week. But however we see you, we hope you enjoy your weekend. We hope you enjoy your birds. And if you're a mother out there, we wish you a wonderful and happy Mother's Day. All right, we'll see you next Friday. Until then, enjoy your birds.